Let's make Agatha's Witch's Brew a drink recipe for connecting and finding the witch's power and lineage. This is a cocktail and mocktail recipe I made after being inspired by the debut of Marvel's new show, Agatha All Along, a witch-themed show debuting now on Disney+. But of course, I made this with real, authentic witchcraft ingredients, being inspired by their magical meaning. Witching season is right around the corner, you guys, so whether you are excited for Agatha All Along like me, or you are just looking for witchy cocktails for spooky season, I have you covered. This is a seasonal recipe, very berry, very seductive. We've got blackberry, pomegranate, rosemary, ginger, and gin, or no gin. We are going to be talking about substitutions along the way. I believe that our magical practices are as unique as our taste palettes, so I'm all about making things work for you. So don't worry, you can still have your witch's brew. Hello, my name is Juliana Hattis. I am the author of this book right here, Witchcraft Cocktails, Moon Magic Mixology, the modern witchcraft book of astrology and of moon magic. And I am primarily known for making magical drink recipes. So if that sounds like your jam, you are gonna love this recipe. In this video, we're gonna dive into making the cocktail and talking about the magical meaning of the ingredients along the way. And then that's gonna be followed by a demo of the non-alcoholic version. You know, just beware, we might talk about some spoilers. Not really though. Everything will be timestamped below so you can find the part most relevant for you. However, there's going to be juicy information throughout this video. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, first we are going to start with blackberry. Blackberry is one of those ingredients I really have a hard time bringing down to just a few words, because to me, it really brings together a myriad of things. From my personal perspective, blackberry is one of those ingredients I do really deeply associate with witchcraft, particularly with more of the sensual, healing, abundant side of witchcraft. In Western witchcraft, blackberry is commonly associated with the goddess Bridget for healing, but it is also associated with the fae, so you can think of that mischievous end, as well as, healing, abundance, lust, luck, all those juicy things, which honestly, all of those things together really makes it perfect for this cocktail for me, because there's a little bit of a seductive nature in the show. We'll see what comes out in the rest of the episodes, but I feel like with blackberry, its connections to, the witchcraft practice and the energy of the berry itself and carrying all those things I described was kind of a perfect start to the recipe of adding that juicy, sensual aspect that's also powerful. We're gonna add 2 to 3 blackberries for seductive power. So our next ingredient, at the start of the show, Agatha is under a spell where she does not remember who she is. She is living as a muggle for a hot minute there, but then she is able to break the spell and remember who she is. So instantly to me, I'm memory. Rosemary is perfect for this. Rosemary is often used for the mind, mental powers, and we know power is going to be a theme in this show, right? Purification, healing, protection, so many good things. And honestly, some of my first spells as a baby teen witch was using rosemary. So it's another really popular witchcraft ingredient. So all those things combined, I thought it was going to be great to add to this recipe. So we're just going to add 1 sprig of rosemary for a witch's remembrance. On that note, you can also smoke the rosemary if you want. That is something that I have done in previous recipes of mine, but I did not want to be doing the same thing every single time, so I didn't do it in this recipe. So just know that it'll add a little bit of smokiness, smoke cleansing. It's a beautiful idea. You can definitely do it for this one. Our next ingredient is ginger. So a whole premise of the show is that Agatha is going on a search to find and reclaim her power. Right? That's the whole reason she's going down this witch's road. Associated with Mars and the element of fire, and if you don't know, the elements do play a role. I don't know about you, but I have that Witch's Road song stuck in my head. But anyway, ginger is associated with Mars and the element of fire. It is an ingredient that I really like to use for power. It is associated with power and really has that kick. It is also associated with longevity, love, and success. So we're gonna add about 2 kind of slices there. You really want to use fresh ginger. So we're gonna go ahead and add ginger for power. So our next ingredient is real maple syrup. Like blackberry, maple really embodies a few different themes to me. Primarily in this case, I decided to include it because of its associations with trees. I think of, the history of witchcraft, where oftentimes, covens or groups of witches would gather within the secrecy of trees, woods, forests, where these trees provided a much needed secrecy and protection. So I added it for that earth magic and connection element. It's also associated with longevity, money, and love or seduction. And there's a lot of that seductive nature possibly happening in the show. We'll see where it goes. Now, I did happen to have some of Witchwood's Circe maple syrup. Now, I did try this with other maple syrups, so it doesn't need to be Witchwood, but I just had to try this one because Circe's a powerful mythological witch figure, so I was like, this is perfect to add. But again, you can use any maple syrup. I feel like sometimes the sweetness of a maple syrup can really vary, so adjust it according to your preference. So we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/2 to 3/4 of an ounce of maple syrup to our recipe. At this point, we are going to go ahead and muddle. Muddling really helps to break down the blackberry, the ginger to fully express its flavors into the recipe. If you do not have a muddler, you can use a wooden spoon or anything that's essentially just going to break down the blackberry and the ginger. And so you're just going to do that by pressing it down and twisting. Luckily, the blackberry breaks apart pretty easily, but you may need to go a little rough on that ginger. Our next ingredient is pomegranate juice. When it comes to witchcraft, pomegranate is instantly one of those things I think of, especially when it comes to a witch's path. In one aspect, pomegranate is associated with the goddess Persephone, who was originally a spring youthful goddess, but ate 6 pomegranate seeds after being taken away to the underworld, and then was forced to live and rule 6 months of the year in the underworld and 6 months above. Pomegranate's also featured on the High Priestess Tarot card. Because of pomegranate's associations with Persephone, I really think of sometimes those themes of the sacrifice, the trial, the change, that Persephone went through in relation to the underworld and the pomegranate, and how that also relates oftentimes our own journey on the path of witchcraft, where we're forced to heal and confront those experiences and really do a lot of inner work and inner alchemy, which is kind of perfect when you think of the metaphor of going down the witch's road. Also, with plentiful seeds, pomegranate is also a symbol of abundance, fertility, creativity. So many good things. So we're going to go ahead and add 3/4 of an ounce of pomegranate juice. And since Agatha is forced to form a last-minute coven in order to be able to summon forth the witch's road, I feel like she's probably going to go through a journey of friendship, So I thought lemon would be perfect citrus to add to the recipe. It is not just a great cleansing ingredient, which is what lemon's commonly known for in witchcraft, for purification, cleansing, but it's also associated with friendship, joy, happiness, just general uplifting. I think that's something we can all kind of relate to when it comes to various citrus. But also, lemon is associated with the moon, and we all know moon is a part of witchcraft, so I thought that was just perfect. In the show, we do talk about the maiden mother crones. I really do recommend that you use fresh lemon when it comes to craft cocktails, and actually even in cocktails that are infused with the craft, with witchcraft. Fresh really does make a difference. Pre-juiced citruses you buy from the store, in bottles and stuff, they're pasteurized or have preservatives or things added. There is a clear difference in the balance of your cocktail. But again, you gotta do what you gotta do. So we're gonna go ahead and add 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice for friendship and for the moon, for the maiden mother crown. So now we are on to our alcohol-based ingredients. I am going to give you some substitution options for the non-alcoholic version, and then we will dive into the non-alcoholic version after we finish this guy up. Our next ingredient is going to be sloe gin. Now, contrary to the name, sloe gin is not a gin. It is actually a liqueur. So that means that it has sugar and stuff. Part of that is because it is a very sour berry, so it's a little hard to take directly. Sloe gin is made made with sloe berries, which some of you might know as coming from the sloe or blackthorn tree. Blackthorn is really one of those historical witchcraft elements. It is known as the dark mother of the woods. How cool of a nickname is that, right? And it's so perfect for a drink on witchcraft. It's also associated with the fae. It's wood sometimes used in wands or divining rods, and it's often hung to deter away negative energy or evil spirits. Since this is such a specific ingredient, I did want to test other options. If you do not have sloe gin, you can try doing without, just not add it in. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you adjust the sweetness level because the sloe gin is a liqueur, so just be mindful. I also tried, you can use curacao, so, orange liqueur. You can also try blue curacao, which will actually give the recipe a blue hue. Kind of cool. You are going to be adding purple edible glitter, so you have an array of colors you can make this recipe. And one thing we are going to try in the next section actually is cranberry. For the non-alcoholic substitute, I did try a Lyre's Italian Spritz. It worked great, so that's another option for you. We'll talk about that more in the mocktail segment. So we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/2 to 3/4 of an ounce of sloe gin into our witch's brew. Another element to kind of talk about here is if you don't really want to work with any of those substitutions, the thing with the sloe berries is that they are pretty sour, so they're never really eaten directly. They're usually prepared into other cooking elements, so maybe jam. So you might be able to find it in jam. Other elements that I've read online that you can get similar kind of flavors out of, obviously not perfect, is like sour cherry or sour plum. So maybe if you want to think along playing with those lines, if you don't have these other things you want to work with, you can definitely give that a shot. But since witchcraft and presumably the show, right, are going to be related in some way maybe to communicating with spirits or psychic abilities, I thought that gin would be the perfect addition because of these associations. Did also try vodka and it worked great. Now, juniper is the defining ingredient of what makes a gin a gin. A gin can have lots of other ingredients involved in its process, but juniper is the defining element. So with juniper being the defining element of a gin, it has such associations of purification, psychic abilities, spirituality, and more. Juniper has a lot of other things going for it. So you're gonna go ahead and add 1.5 ounces of whatever your main alcohol is. Now, do not mind that this is purple. Initially, I used a clear gin, but I ran completely out, and I had an extra bottle of Holy Stones gin here that's infused with butterfly pea flower. So you can use really a multitude of gins for this recipe because I've tried a few different types. Now, before we go any further, we talked about purple being Agatha's color. So I did want to add a little bit of a purple color in there. If I tried to do that naturally and trying to make it translatable to a non-alcoholic drink recipe, it was just going to make it more complicated than it needed to be. And I really liked the meaning of these ingredients. I went ahead and opted for this purple edible glitter. It works great. And I also do love what it ends up becoming. It kind of adds this cool alchemy into the drink as you're sipping it, of a little mix of the purple glitter and purple colors, and then shades of reds will dip in. Well, when you think of the Scarlet Witch and her power being red and Agatha's association with her, so I really love the congruency unintentionally there. So we're gonna go ahead and add our purple edible cocktail glitter to the recipe to give it that shimmering purple hue. Before we even finish, before we shake our cocktail, we're gonna add a little bit of absinthe. This is totally optional. You do not need to do this. Now, it is made from a combination of botanicals, primarily wormwood, anise, fennel seeds, all those different things. So in essence, really those defining ingredients of wormwood and anise really make it perfect for me for tuning to the unseen world in some way. So to do a rinse is you're gonna add a cube and you're just gonna pour a little splash. And then what you're going to do is you're gonna rinse the inside of the glass with it. Basically, you're just gonna move it in a circular motion so the ice cube and the absinthe rinse the inside of the glass. Once you are done rinsing, it's called rinsing because you're gonna wanna dump it out. The more you dump out, the less absinthe you'll get. So you can really shake it out if you want, just to leave a little bit of that hint element. Okay, so we have all of the elements for our recipe together. So now we need to add ice and shake. If you want to check out any of the gear I use in this video, I will have it linked for you below. Now you have shaken your drink, pre-rinse your glass. We are ready to strain our witch's brew. And finally, we're just gonna garnish with a little blackberry here. And let's give this a taste, you guys. Na zdrowie. That's how we say cheers in Polish. Oh my God. So good. I can't wait to finish this after we're done. Okay, let's get into the non-alcoholic version and let's see if cranberry works. The beauty of witchcraft is really that it brings people from all different walks of life. There are plenty of people on this path that are sober for whatever reason. So I always try and make a non-alcoholic mocktail version whenever I can. So as always, you can create the drink without the alcohol and just rebalance the sweetness, adjust it to your flavor preferences after you've made it. You can also try adding soda water to replace the alcohol. Just add it after you've shaken because it is a carbonated beverage. But beyond that, I have been getting into trying more non-alcoholic spirits. I really think that they can recreate the experience of having a cocktail without the alcohol, of having kind of those elevated flavor aspects where it's not just juice. You know, you're more intentional, a little slower, sipping it rather than gulping down like a lemonade or something. Or maybe that's just me. So we are going to get into playing around a little bit here. I do have suggestions I have already tried on my blog. So let's get into making the mocktail version and let's see if cranberry is going to work out as a replacement for the sloe. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the mocktail version. I'm going to go ahead and add your 2 to 3 blackberries. Again, adjust based on size. I'm going to add rosemary for a witch's remembrance. We went through all of the meanings of these in the cocktail segment, so refer back to that if you really want to get the in-depth meaning or check out the blog. Fresh ginger slices for power. We're going to add a 1/2 to 3/4 of an ounce of our maple syrup for earth magic connection to the trees. I'm going to do a 1/2 ounce this time. You can always add more later. Muddling. Really express that ginger. I'm going to add 3/4 of an ounce of pomegranate juice. If you want to substitute for the sloe gin, you can try Lyre's Italian Spritz. I found that worked well, but let's try cranberry this time. Obviously, we're losing a little bit out of that sweetener or the sugar that the liqueur had. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a 1/2 ounce of cranberry and see if that does work well or not. I'm getting a little bit messy here on the table, so if you can see that, just pretend you didn't. Okay, we're gonna add 3/4 of an ounce of lemon for friendship, connecting to the moon, a mother maiden crone, right? And then for the alcohol replacement, we are gonna use Lyre's London Dry. This works great for replacing gin in non-alcoholic drinks. Gotta add the edible glitter. I probably could be adding less, but I know on camera things don't always show up super well. Let's add our ice. If you've noticed that this is broken, you didn't. This is perfectly functional. Okay, we're just gonna add our cap on and we're gonna shake. And just go ahead and add your blackberry garnish. And let's give that a sip. Oh, wow. That is good. That's really good. So cranberry does work. So you have a couple options now. If you do want to replace the sloe gin, you can do cranberry or you can do the Italian Spritz or just forget about it. That's what I love about the non-alcoholic spirits. Again, it's such an evolving industry and I am really curious to see where they go. But it really does recreate the cocktail experience, the elevated experience without having the alcohol. And that way it doesn't just taste like juice. So I'm really impressed. Again, Lyre's is one of my favorites. So that's exciting. Well, these are the drinks, you guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you try. Hopefully you have like so many options and so many ideas on how you can really adapt this to your witch's cabinet. If you are all about witchy drinks, I'm going to be doing more here on this channel on that. So stay tuned. And my books, they're all about how to make your own witchy cocktails. And then I have my spell books too. I love to have have reflective chats, like coffee talks, you know, and I wanted to do the witchy version of that. So I think my next video is going to be an autumn equinox reflection video where we can sip this beautiful cocktail that we just made together and think about what the autumn equinox represents and what our intentions are. The day I'm recording this is the autumn equinox, so probably gonna get it after. But, you know, we're in autumn until winter, so there's still lots of juicy stuff. And then, of course, we're going to have a lot more drink videos. So there's going to be a mixture of good stuff on here. Let me know what you are interested in learning. Let me know what you think about Agatha All Along. Let me know how you modified this recipe to make it work for you. And thank you so much. Come hang out with me. You guys come hang out with me on this channel. Come hang out with me on Instagram. And thank you so much for coming to sit with me for a spell. Na zdrowie!